The real reasons you're not closing deals. You've got your sales pitch down cold. You're on top of your follow-ups, but for some reason, deals you were sure were in the bag just fizzle out. You leave meetings feeling like you nailed it, your pipeline looks great, and then crickets. The contracts just aren't getting signed. What if I told you the deal was lost before you even got to your big presentation? What if the fatal mistake happened in the first 5 minutes? We're about to break down the invisible mistakes you might be making right at the start of your sales calls that are silently killing your chances. These aren't the obvious blunders. These are the subtle, counterintuitive habits that even seasoned salespeople fall for. I've trained thousands of reps and analyzed countless calls, and the pattern is almost always the same. Most deals aren't lost at the finish line, they're lost at the starting block. Stick with me, because you're about to learn exactly what to change in those first 5 minutes to take charge of the conversation, establish yourself as an authority, and start closing more deals. Mistake number 1, wrong rapport. Let's start with something that sounds like heresy. That old school advice to find common ground by talking about the weather or the local sports team. It's a trap, and it's probably costing you sales. Now, am I saying you should be a robot? Of course not. But what top performers get is that in a sales call, your goal isn't to make a new best friend. It's to establish credibility. When you waste the first 5 minutes on small talk, you're not building professional rapport. You're building a social one. You accidentally position yourself as just another friendly person, not as the high-value expert who's there to solve a serious business problem. Think about it. When you see a top surgeon, do they spend 10 minutes asking about your weekend? No. They greet you, and then with a calm, confident authority, they start diagnosing the issue. Their credibility comes from their expertise, not their chit-chat.
Your prospect is busy. They took the meeting because they have a problem. Wasting their time with fluff makes them question if you get that. Instead of trying to be their buddy, be their peer. Greet them warmly, then pivot directly to the reason you're both there. You can say something like, "I know you've got a packed schedule, so I appreciate the time. The agenda I had in mind was to first dig into the challenges you're facing with X, then see if what we do might even be a fit. Sound good?"
This approach shows you respect their time, positions you as a serious professional, and builds the right kind of rapport, one based on competence and the promise of real value. Mistake number 2, answering too quickly. I know, this one feels completely backward. A prospect asks a direct question, and your instinct is to be helpful and answer it directly. But jumping to answer questions, especially in the first 5 minutes, is one of the fastest ways to lose control and turn yourself into a walking brochure. Early on, questions like, "How much does it cost?" or "Can your software do X?" are almost never about the surface-level topic. They're shortcuts the prospect is using to figure you out, and they hide a deeper concern. When you just spit out an answer, you miss a golden opportunity to understand what they're really asking. You're giving up information without getting any context in return. Top performers don't evade. They gently reverse the question by asking a question of their own to understand the intent.
Prospect: "Can your system integrate with our CRM?" Rookie seller: "Yep, absolutely." Pro seller: "That's a great question. It sounds like having a seamless workflow is a big priority. To give you the right answer, could you tell me a bit about how your team is using the CRM now and what a perfect integration would actually do for you?"
See the difference? The first response is a dead end. The second opens a real conversation. You've just learned that efficiency is a priority, and you've invited them to talk about their goals. If they ask about price too early, you can say, "I can definitely get you the right numbers, so I don't waste your time quoting a solution that isn't a perfect fit. Could you first walk me through what you're trying to solve?" By doing this, you're not just answering questions. You're uncovering pain points. You're shifting the dynamic from a Q&A to a true consultation, and you're keeping control of the process. Mistake number 3, your tonality is undermining you. This is maybe the most invisible mistake of all, because it's not about what you say, but how you say it. You could have the world's best script, but if your tone of voice is off, you've already lost. We've all heard that classic 7-38-55 rule, where 38% of a message's impact comes from the tone of voice. Well, on a phone call where there's no body language, that percentage is even higher. One University of Southern California study found that on the phone, tone accounts for a staggering 84% of the message.
There are two common tonal mistakes that kill deals. First is the overly enthusiastic, high-energy salesperson. You sound too eager. Your voice pitches up, you talk a bit too fast, and you come across as needy. This instantly creates a status gap. The prospect is the calm, collected buyer, and you're the desperate seller. The second is the polar opposite, the monotone, robotic salesperson. You sound bored or like you're reading a script. The prospect feels like just another number on your list, and they mentally check out. The sweet spot is what I call calm confidence. It's the relaxed, steady, and measured tone of a peer-level expert. It's warm but not overeager. It's clear but not robotic. You sound like you've had this conversation 100 times. You know their problems inside and out, and you're there to guide them. It's the voice of a doctor or a trusted consultant.
Record yourself. Listen to the first 2 minutes of your calls. Do you sound rushed and jumpy, or do you sound disengaged? Focus on slowing down, taking deliberate pauses, and speaking with a steady, confident tone. It subconsciously tells the prospect you're an authority worth listening to. By the way, if any of these are hitting home, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe. It tells me you're getting value and helps me keep making content to help you crush your numbers.
Mistake number 4, what versus why?
Here's the hard truth. In the first 5 minutes, prospects don't care about your product. They care about their problems. When you focus on the what, your product, before you understand the why, the reason they're on the phone, you haven't earned the right to pitch anything.
The best way to handle, tell me about what you do, is to gently deflect and turn the conversation back to them. Top performers use a pain-before-pitch framework. They refuse to talk about their solution until they have a rock-solid understanding of the prospect's business problems. I'd be happy to. But I've found it's way more helpful to first learn about your situation. That way I can focus on what's actually relevant to you instead of wasting your time. Would it be okay if I started with a couple of questions about what prompted you to take this call?
This single move sets you apart from 99% of other salespeople. It shows you're not there to push a product. You're there to find a problem. By focusing the first 5 minutes on their challenges and goals, you build the business case for your solution before you ever mention a single feature. Mistake number 5. Control the call. This last mistake is the one that leads to the soul-crushing, "This was great, just send me some information and I'll get back to you." And we all know what that means. This happens when you let the prospect drive the call. If you don't immediately and professionally set a clear agenda, you're stuck in the passenger seat. The prospect will pull you in a dozen directions, and the call will end without a clear outcome. Now, we know that today's sales cycles are longer, and that most deals require between 5 and 12 follow-ups. But you lose the right to even make those follow-ups if the prospect sees you as a time waster with no plan. Deals aren't just lost because of a bad close. They're lost because there was never a clear process to begin with. The best way to establish control is with an upfront contract. Right after the greeting, you confidently lay out the plan for the meeting. It sounds like this: "Thanks for the time today." How these calls usually go best is we spend the first 10 minutes or so discussing your current situation and what you're hoping to fix. Then, if it seems like we might actually be able to help, I can show you how. From there, we can figure out if it makes sense to even talk about next steps. How does that sound? That simple script does 3 critical things. First, it shows you're the authority with a plan. Second, it gets their permission to start discovery. And third, it plants the seed that this call is about making a decision to move forward, not just gathering information. When you control the process, you guide the prospect logically toward a close, rather than just hoping you stumble into one. So, let's recap the 5 deal killers. Building social rapport instead of expert credibility, answering questions directly instead of diagnosing the real issue, letting your tone undermine your authority, pitching your product before you understand their problem, and failing to set a clear agenda. Most salespeople spend all their time trying to perfect their pitch, but the top 1% know that deals are won or lost in these first crucial moments. If you can fix these 5 things, I guarantee you'll see a massive shift. Your conversations will be deeper, you'll be seen as an expert, and you'll start moving deals forward that used to stall out. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who might need it, and don't forget to subscribe for more content on living a more intentional and fulfilling life.